Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Welcome to the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number 12, coming to you from the desolate wasteland of Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're recording on November 14th, and I'm your host, Elric Edge. With me tonight are
James Tapia
and Bill Costello.
We got quite a treat for you tonight. We have an interview with Reese from Frontline Gaming discussing the ITC and the LVO. We're also going to discuss what's new that Games Workshop has put out, or our usual subjects. We're also going to discuss a review, if you will, of the Iron Jaws that I was a part of with Tyler Emerson from Scrubby and Wells. And we're going to act like we're going to do another Beast Claw Raiders review, but James has once again undermined the whole process there. So,
Episode 20.
Episode 20.
First anniversary of the BCR.
Just in time for their new book to come out. All right, let's do a show.
Let's do this. The Realm of the New Dawn, where we're going to talk about the new stuff from GW. And last podcast, we covered a lot of the new stuff that came out in this White Dwarf, but now the stuff's actually starting to come in, and we've got some of it. One of the things we forgot last time was those wound dice that has been announced.
Yeah.
The D10s, I think they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think those have hit the street yet, but they look kind of... I mean, they're just D10s.
I've seen them floating around on Twitter.
Really?
Maybe some people got some advanced copies or something, but yeah, I like them.
It's kind of a radical departure, you know, Games Workshop, D10s. Whoa, where's this game going?
Yeah.
Is the D10 the new D6?
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Let's do that. Let's start a rumor that Sigmar is going to go to D10s.
No, 40K is going to go to D10.
Oh, even better.
When they blow up the universe and give it the Age of Sigmar treatment.
Yeah, okay. Wow. Okay, so we just got turned off by 500,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
And we only have 500 listeners, so yeah, this sucks. So, but anyway, yeah, I picked up that hero-based set for Age of Sigmar. We looked at it before we started recording, and I think they got a pretty unanimous thumbs up.
Yeah, definitely. Those are some sweet bases. There's not a whole lot in here for the $35, so you definitely want to save these for the iconic characters.
Yeah, the signature
in your army.
models.
But man, those are cool. Those bases that are covered in the skulls, that 90 mil oval base for
that is
a Dracoth or whatever.
Yeah, we mentioned that the last time that that was probably for the Celestin on Dracoth. Now that I actually see it with that hammer on there, that is just perfect for the Celestin on Dracoth. Definitely. And that, like you said, it separates him from the other guys riding Dracoths. It's going to make
all look
him
pretty much identical.
Unique.
Yeah.
So
we also got the Khorne Dominion battle mat in front of us.
Oh yeah.
And it's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's just high quality, beautiful, and like you said, Games Workshop gets to do the stuff that's way off the reservation, and I mean that thing is just beautiful. The lava, the Khorne symbol in the corner, it's just gorgeous.
Right.
Plus, you notice that the edges were sewed.
Yeah,
which is something that is going to probably be handy down the line.
Yeah, it's a selling point down the road. You know, as all of these different mats start to get worn and suffer the wear and tear of gaming all the time. Not like I do that, but
See, I was going to say your mats look pristine, Bill.
Well, they're still in the box. I wouldn't take those things out. I'm not going to ruin them. Anyway, God, I really do play games, people. No, I really don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think down the road that having the edges sewn like that is going to be a little plus. Just it's a little perk.
Yeah. We also have the repair tool in hand. Now, we talked about this last time, and I had made mention that if that is a bottle opener on the tool, then this may be the greatest tool ever made.
And
it is, in fact, a bottle opener, making this one of the greatest tools ever made. So I will be picking one of these up as soon as I can. The little canister thing on there that holds the super glue only holds the super tiny super glue that GW,
GW puts out. Yeah.
Which is fine, I think, because that's what this whole thing is designed to do, is you keep this with you while you're at an event. You only need a tiny bit of glue sometimes. If you drop a model and an arm breaks off, or it breaks off a base, that happens all the time. You slap them, you can scrape off a little bit of dried glue, apply a little dab of the fresh stuff. Yep. That tiny little tube will get you through, your event, your 2-day event or whatever, and you'll be on your way. You don't need it again. Yep. So, yeah, I actually like this thing. I know that some people will scoff when they and laugh when they come out with stuff like this, but I really do see some use in this.
Oh, yeah.
And definitely the bottle opener.
Yeah, well, the bottle opener is the... Wow. And one they never said a word about the bottle opener.
Right.
It was in the picture. You could see it, but you didn't really know exactly. Is that just something sticking out? Or they're not going to sit there and say it because, it's a family-friendly company, but yeah, it's there.
Let's see, what else? Somebody was saying they put out like a board game, another one of their board games.
Oh, that silly sports
Yeah, they brought something back.
Yeah.
Trying to pull on nostalgia strings. I don't know, it doesn't sound that important.
So Blood Bowl went up for sale on Saturday.
Yeah.
Although it's not coming out till the week of the
Saturday
it's
another one of their...
Thanksgiving.
They did that a few months ago with something big. I don't remember.
2-week lead in. I think it was for...
Like 2 or 3. Oh, the General's Handbook.
General's Handbook,
yeah.
That got dropped way out.
That was like a 3-week lead out time for pre-orders and stuff. So, yeah. I'll be picking... I definitely want it. It's just not something I'm going to pick up right away because I had to prep for LVO and all this other crazy stuff. But it is definitely something I'll be picking up probably by the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
The models look phenomenal.
Well, Wytech was... I was just listening to the latest Garage Hammer today, and he got an advance copy, and he said the models were just gorgeous.
Yeah, they look fantastic.
And if you look at what they've been doing lately, you got to know that they're going to be amazing. And I think he was saying that the book that comes with this game only has the info for the humans and the orcs.
No, I saw a picture online, I thought, that had rules for...
I thought all the factions were going to come out.
Yeah, it looked like it had rules for a bunch of the different teams. I know that as the game has progressed over the years, they've come out with a bunch of different teams, but this one looked like it had rules for maybe 8 or 9 different teams.
See, that's weird. I thought he said that the abilities were there only for the teams that were in the box.
Maybe
we'll have to take a look when we get ours. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but that's something to look forward to. So, what else were we going to hit?
Oh, they also put up a teaser trailer for 40K. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's about 25 seconds long or something. Yeah. It shows the Roman numeral 6 and 11/23/16.
Yeah.
So we've been sitting here kind of discussing what that may mean, and I saw something online where people were mentioning Space Wolves are the 6th Legion.
Yes, they are.
I think Fenris might burn.
Well, with Magnus coming back, he might have an axe to grind. Get it? Axe to grind? I'm sorry.
And, well, whatever. It's 40K end times, guys. Get ready for it.
Quit denying and get on board.
Yeah, they're going to crank this thing to 11. They're going to burn Fenris. Lehman Russ will come back. He'll duke it out with Magnus the Red.
He'll get decapitated at the end.
Yeah, hopefully Lehman Russ will die because, Space Wolves are the first traitor chapter. Yeah, shots fired.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that's what's coming.
Yeah,
I think they'll drag this out a little more than they did for the fantasy end times, and rightfully so. 40K is like their real big IP, so why not get as much out of it as you can? And
there's a whole galaxy to burn. That's going to take a while.
Right, instead of just punching the Empire in the face again.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm totally up for it. So I have a feeling that's what's going to come.
We can dream.
Yeah. There are no wolves on Fenris, and pretty soon there's not going to be much else either.
Yeah.
Anyways. What else do we have?
I don't know of anything else. I hate to think we're missing something big, but I don't think we are.
Mm-mm.
So
I'm sure there's audiobooks.
Just that fake box.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. Keep dreaming.
Yeah. Nope, that's about it.
Yeah, no more. We're not going to do a 30-minute Realm of the New Dawn this show like we did.
This will cap out at
the
10
last
minutes. Well, it was the issue of White Dwarf, so.
Yeah,
That
drilling over
warranted a lot of discussion of the new toys.
that. Yeah. And we're not really a Blood Bowl podcast, so.
No,
we won't.
not yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's wipe that out.
The Realm of Creation, where we talk about what we've been up to in the hobby the last 2 weeks. Elric,
Yep.
you been up to anything?
Yep.
All right. Moving on.
Yeah, Skyrim came out for the PS4, so that's.
Oops.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that didn't
hang my head in shame.
Well, it's okay. I don't have that much either. In the last 2 weeks, I built 3 pterodons, and that's the sum total of my effort. So, well, I did put legs on my Dreadsaurian.
Yeah, I was gonna say last time I saw you were doing
Yeah.
something, fiddling around with it somewhat.
Yeah,
I don't see it around. But...
I got the whole tail on him. He's in a box. I've got the whole tail on him, and I got 2 legs because you have to pin every single one of those. It's taking longer than I thought, but I mean, it's not a hard model to build. It's just fiddly. So, because I want to fill all the gaps and make everything right.
Yeah.
So, that's it. That's all I got.
James?
I've just been plugging away on more dryads. Just finished converting up 10 more green stuff, and I think I put some base coats down on them.
Trying to psych yourself up for painting 2,000 points of Iron Jaws before the LVO.
Yeah, we got that, and then started that, and then I started building Julian's Death Army too. Put together a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, put together a Mongol, and...
How is that kit, anyways? Cause
the Zombie Dragon?
No, the
Mongol? There's big gaps in it. It's what you expect from resin models from Forge World. I tried liquid green stuff in it. Came out all right.
Is it kind of precarious? Because it basically holds itself up with just one wrist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And does it look fragile? Or?
I pinned it. It didn't look like it was going to hold, so I landed up pinning it in the wrist just because I didn't want to have to deal with that issue down the line of it breaking there. And so I just pinned that. They'll probably be pretty easy to paint. It's death. You just throw some washes down, some color, and
Nylonic oxide and
call it good.
highlight, yeah.
I'm freaking out though. We're halfway through November, which means I have
2.5 months.
2.5 months to do.
To paint 2.5 armies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man,
That's
see,
a
when you
tall
think
order.
about it like that, you just want to cry.
Plus display board,
Yeah.
because I have to come up with a new one for that. So I don't know. I predict I was gonna be freaking out close to LVO, and I can see that's gonna be coming true.
Yeah.
I already told my wife, and luckily she's understanding enough. She's like, okay. So pretty much I foresee every Saturday and Sunday. I'll probably have to quit playing 40K on Sundays for a while.
Yeah.
And then pretty much devote every Saturday and Sunday to painting away. Probably be doing 9 hours a day on those. So I'll get there. It's just going to take a lot of work. And I've been kind of having a little bit of hobby fumble with the dryads and with the Sylvaneth. It's like, okay, it's more blue, more green. Okay, I'm getting tired of it, especially when you get to all the little guys. It's like
Dryad number 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I built Jules' death stuff, just to break it up a little bit and get a little something in there.
Yeah, because it gets tedious after a while to do X amount of anything.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So we'll be plugging away on that.
You think you're gonna get the Seraphon done on time there, Bill?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not near. Well, you saw what my guys look like. I'm not nearly as painstaking with me. It's airbrush base coat, airbrush couple of highlights, and then detail work, and pray it looks good.
Fair enough.
Remember, I'm the Big Mac. He's the French chef.
I'm the fat kid that just orders off the menu.
Okay, we have our roles assigned.
Yeah. that's it for hobby, isn't it?
Yep, I think
Really
so.
Sad showing. Sad showing.
We'll be. Hopefully, you'll get some more done on our paint night on Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely.
So
That's a really good. I mean, I first time last week I got into that little paint chat thing, and man, that helped you focus a little bit. You're chit chatting about this, that, and the other thing, but you're still focused on what you're doing, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I don't know how keen I am on the. What is it? What do we use? WhatsApp app?
no, we use
Google Hangouts.
Google Hangouts.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know.
You just have a really crappy internet connection.
Yeah. I pay like, $200 a month for it.
You probably just need a different router.
Yeah.
I found out with mine. The one I got from my cable company was pretty horrible, and then I went out and bought a $200 router and
Yeah.
fixed all my problems.
They do. They work well. So.
Stupid technology.
Hey. It's my life, man. Okay.
The Realm of Battle. Well, we're going to talk about the games we've been up to in the last 2 weeks. I think it's going to be a fairly short segment.
Kind of one-sided
I haven't really gotten anything in. Bill, you and I were going to play
on Saturday.
this last weekend, but you feigned deathly illness in order to not take the iron jaws to the chin again.
I didn't want to destroy my, record of 100% wins at my house. So, yeah.
He's quitting while he's ahead.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much going to hang it up now. I'm done.
Going out on top.
When you're 1-0, what do you do?
Right? Yeah.
Well, I heard it was supposed to be a match play game.
It was.
Yeah.
Which-
I was surprised.
There's
You
my
said
match play
2,000
list.
points match
Yep.
play. I was like, oh, really?
I think that's why he backed out there.
Well,
because
yeah.
match play literally unplayable.
Seraphon are literally unplayable in match play. So
Literally
unplayable.
unplayable. Anyways,
Yeah.
James,
Tell us about your game.
I heard you had a wonderful game.
Yeah, well, I had two wonderful games actually.
Nice.
Make up for last podcast with nothing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were Pokemon going to the polls.
Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, I played Jules again. Same thing. We tried out one of the different scenarios. I think it was Border. No, it wasn't Border War. It was Blood and Glory. No, what's the one with the 4 objectives?
Oh, the 4 objective one. Continue.
So we were playing Blood and Glory. He played his typical list, and didn't go that well for him, from what I remember.
You mean Jules still hasn't beaten you?
No. He's beaten me before.
Really?
When I was playing like Stormcast or something, maybe like once. He's come close.
Fair enough.
So yeah, played that. Still trying to make his list work. So we're just. Plus, I found out it's been illegal this whole time too.
Oops.
Which kind of sucks. Yeah.
What have you guys
He's
been
been
doing?
cheating?
No, I'm the one who wrote the list, so
So you cheated for him.
I cheated for him.
Nice.
Because I thought skeleton archers were battle line if you had Cleta. That's halfway true. She has to be the general.
Oh, James, what have you
Which
done?
means Cetra can't be the general. And
Why are you teaching your son to cheat?
I know.
Win at all costs.
So
Just give him your loaded dice.
everyone insists I have loaded dice. Jeez, yeah.
Just saying, the number of 5s and 6s you roll.
You should have seen my 40K game with Robert Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crouch Weaver. Using his reroll ability. I got my D missile off. Rolled like a 2. Kairos reroll. It's gonna be a 6. Rolled a 6.
Didn't get.
Oh,
Oh, my.
and then he next turn he cast a spell, invisibility. I think he used most of his dice. He got like 5 successes, and I had like 20 dice or something to dispel. Threw them. I got 4 6s. Kairos reroll one of them. I needed a 6. I'm like, it's gonna be a 6. It was a 6.
Oh my.
Yeah, I heard you were actually jumping around and hooting and hollering.
That's
during
right.
a game, which is rare.
Yeah, no. When me and Robert play, it's always a good time. So that's 40K. But so after looking at the list, discovering it's been not quite legal.
Yeah.
And then his not so great tracker record with it. I mean, I think the archers are good in some situations, but I think overall, it's 60 shots with that one unit or something like that.
With a hit on 4s.
Hit on 4s, wound on 4s.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay, but with the no rend, it's just like
15 no rend hits.
Yeah.
On average, or wounds on average.
which is not necessarily great, especially with the kind of armies I'm playing where they're elite armies with
That's
really
2
good
dead
armor.
brutes.
3 ups.
Statistically.
Yeah. But so
The
it
brutes
just
come in and wipe them out.
plus it's
Well,
a lot of
you know.
it's a lot of stuff to be moving and dice rolling to be doing for a tournament necessarily.
Yeah.
And I know some other podcasts have had episodes about that. I think Facehammer had one about should you be rolling that many dice and can you fit that in the 2.5 hours? If you can't, should you be playing that list?
Yeah.
Right.
And and Jules is a younger player, and so I don't want to necessarily have to put that time restraint on him.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about that on Black Sun too, about how maybe death takes just a little bit longer than the other armies to play, because your entire army can have their armor save plus their battle trait save plus
Some other spell or something that gives them
some
another-
other things that give them additional saves. And that's just for rolling.
and then they're coming back
And then
every
you fight
hero
back,
phase.
and that was your combat. Now we go to my turn, and my combat, I get all the same rolls again, and you just kind of have to factor
Plus
in.
you're bringing stuff back all the time.
Right.
And I mean, that's the way I know. Like 40K, when you're playing 2 Death Stars, it's like usually the game gets quicker as you go on because stuff's dying, so you have less
Right.
dice rolling. But when you have Death Stars, it's like nothing dies, so you're still rolling the same amount of dice you rolled from the first turn, and it really slows it down.
Yeah.
So after looking at that, we decided to put together his new death list, which is why I finally put those models together. And this week I played against Andrew because I wanted to see how it worked. Show Jules how to play that list. Maybe try to figure out some of the. I mean, it looks good on paper.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you theory hammer so much, and then you got to put it into practice and actually see how it actually works for real.
Right.
So I decided to put that down. He had brought his Warrior Brotherhood because originally we're going to play my Sylvaneth, and I've been trying to test it against the Warrior Brotherhood because that is the Stormcast list. I mean, teleport banner, whatever. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't care.
What about Skyborn Slayers?
Skyborn Slayers. That's
No, you're not feeling that.
that's hot garbage.
That's what?
It's hot garbage.
Wow, you
Didn't you play that?
heard it, heard.
No, I never
heard
played
it
I
here.
thought you
Skyborn.
did. I'm sorry.
No, that's because it's all got to come down in one shot, the whole entire drop, which is a lot less tactical than I drop this unit, and then I'll drop this unit, then I'll drop this unit over here, and this one over here. Skyborn Slayers, you got to come in. The whole army's got to come in at one time in a big.
Skyborn Slayers just won the Facehammer GT.
No,
No?
that was a Warrior Brotherhood.
Ooh, I thought it was.
Oh, I could have sworn.
No, it's not. No, the only one I've ever seen play Skyborn Slayers is last. He tries to make that work, and it doesn't. So it was a Warrior Brotherhood, but trying to make that work. So played Jules' Death Army with that. I had to proxy some stuff because I don't have. The list has 30 zombies, and I don't have 30 zombies. So I was proxying some stuff at the time before. I wanted to test it before I go out and spend the money and
Yeah.
start putting stuff together and painting it all, just to find out it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were proxying some stuff. I thought I told Andrew what everything was.
Whoops.
Apparently I didn't, or he misunderstood, or something.
Controversy.
Yeah,
You're
I know.
proxying Nagash into
Apparently,
this army.
apparently one model made the whole.
Well, you
Made
used
all the
old
difference.
1980s Nagash, little foot guy. It's a legal model. It's Nagash.
He's on a
right?
25 mil base.
Yeah.
No, so he thought it was a Tomb Herald or a
or Necrotech or whatever.
Necrotech or something,
Yeah.
and it was actually a Necromancer
Whoops.
Oh.
from the Death Army. So he said that made all the difference. I don't know.
He's just generalizing. He's saying that all death looks the same. That's racist.
Yeah, he voted for Trump. I'm sorry, Andrew. I didn't mean that.
Wah, wah.
So yeah, that landed up being Escalation, which I think that's probably the one scenario that hurts Warrior Brotherhood the most
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it kind of negates their. I mean, they can still come down on the board, they can still do their little teleport thing, but it almost better to come on your own board edge because when you come on the board edge, you come in 3 inches, then you get your normal move, and because you have to be 12 inches away,
Right.
and then you get your normal 4 or 5 inch move.
Yeah.
Which puts you at 7 or 8 inches. which is closer than the 9 you come in from your Warrior Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Well, unless of course you're using the Zeros, but
yeah, it's the nice thing about escalation is it does hinder those Alpha Strike armies, I think, a little bit. And that's where the beauty of the double list option comes into play, as opposed to the sideboard.
The sideboard thing.
And I told Andrew, because we talked about escalation in his army and how it kind of doesn't make it unplayable, but it takes away that strategy that you might use. And I said, well, what you do is you put the formation as your sideboard, and then with the one game of escalation that we're going to play at the tournament, you just throw out the formation
and
the Warrior Brotherhood as your sideboard, and then you just use a different formation.
Well, I think the Warrior Brotherhood works in that formation.
You mean that
scenario?
mission?
In that scenario.
Okay.
I think it's the weakest of them for it,
Right.
but it's still good.
Okay.
I mean, because if you can still drop. I mean, technically, you don't have to drop anything the first turn, and you can drop, 6 units or.
Yeah.
I mean, because with the Warrior Brotherhood, you have so many units too.
Right.
So he was dropping like 4 or 5 units a turn. So it doesn't really hinder you. I mean, that's kind of the way he plays his Warrior Brotherhood. He plays his Warriorhood in waves. He'll drop in the Zeros, drop the first wave of Liberators and some Judicators, do this, you come in, and he drops his second wave, another Zeros with some Retributors or something else, Protectors. And that's how he plays his Warrior Brotherhood, is in waves. So I don't think it necessarily hurts him too much. I think it was just like, I can come on from the board edge and be closer. Was just a little bit too tempting to do.
Maybe.
So we played that, and I don't know if I tabled him or not, but it came down to turn 5, and I think it landed up being, I want to say, 10 to 5, something like that. So it was kind of. At turn 3, he was almost ready to throw in the towel, but we played it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Jules' new list, I'm liking it. It's definitely an Alpha Strike army. I have to come up with a conversion for the Vampire Lord on Abyssal Terror, but I'll figure something out.
To make it look more like a Tomb King model? Or
No, I don't like metal models.
Oh, yeah.
And it's only a metal model. And it's the goofy, 1980s vampire looking thing where it's got a big old grin on.
Yeah.
Back in
face.
7th edition, I used to have a vampire army, and I had a conversion that a buddy did, and it used the Lord of the Rings Nazgul, winged Nazgul, and then he put Sigvald the Magnificent as the vampire riding on the back of it. It was a really cool conversion. It looked really good because Sigvald his dimensions aren't real crazy. Like the sword he's wielding doesn't look like a great big 3-handed sword that he's barely knuckling. It all looks dimensionally correct.
Yeah, because the Lord of the Rings models are a little bit. They're on a smaller scale.
They're true 28s.
Yeah.
Versus
They're
a
not
heroic
true
28s.
scale.
So, and he looked. I mean, it was a really cool conversion. I wish I still had it I think it was like the Witch King.
It would work since it's a GW model.
What's that?
It would work since it's a GW
Yes,
model.
absolutely.
So I don't know. I'm thinking because I have an extra cockatrice type of thing, converting one of those up.
Oh yeah.
It's roughly about the same size. And I got an extra vampire from the extra Terrorgeist I have or whatever.
Right.
So I'll make it work. It's just I don't want to mess with
The
metal especially when we're driving in a car and we're gonna be out and it's just not worth it.
Yeah. No.
I mean, I gave metal models a couple years ago and said no more. I'm not even gonna touch them.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, plus, like I said, it's goofy looking.
It's a little dated.
It's a little dated, just like the freaking zombies I have to use, which I'm not happy about. But
yeah, I cannot believe how long GW has hung on to those zombie models.
And it's with everything up, it's too hard to convert something up.
I think if you do fairly basic basing on them and then use muted colors on the zombies, they'll look okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna. I'm not worried about them. We're just gonna do the cracked earth sand basing he has for the rest of his Tomb Kings, and they'll probably just blend in with the rest of the Tomb Kings. I'll probably just paint them white do their clothes brown, give them a wash, do the skin like a green or something like that. Maybe even like a blue wash to match the turquoise or something.
Yeah, and then use like a matte varnish. You just mute them down, because I think a lot of people, they want to start slapping blood for the blood god and blood, just like this crazy blood effect, and it just makes them look so tacky and awful. And it really brings out the fact that their head is twice the size of their torso, and just awful looking models. But I have seen them, like, if you kind of mute them down and whatnot, and use some earthy tones for the skin and the clothes and stuff, they don't look.
Yeah, I mean, that's what his army is going to be. It's going to be Tomb King-ish, so it'll fall on those lines. But if anyone does have any good suggestions for a quick, easy zombie conversion using GW models, I'm open to hearing them. There's something quick I can kit bash that doesn't involve green stuff.
What if you bought how many you need? 30?
I need 30.
What if you got a box of Empire swordsmen, or the militia dudes, because there's 20 of those guys, and then you bought like a box of skeletons, and you just replaced key bits like arms and legs.
Or I can even do that with the ghoul heads.
Yeah.
So I think the ghoul heads are a lot better.
Yeah.
They look kind of zombie,
or like a ghoul's arm.
Yeah. Maybe. I just don't know if the Empire stuff is going to work with the rest of the vampire Tomb King stuff that he's got going. That's the problem that I kind of have myself backed into corners with the Tomb King look.
Yeah.
I was going to try to convert some of the skeletons we have, but then it's skeletons.
I was going to say skeletons with a little bit of green stuff flesh hanging off.
Green stuff.
Huh?
And then green stuff and 30 models.
Yeah.
Well, but if you roll out a big sheet of green stuff, you could probably do the whole 30 of them with just bits of flesh here and there. I mean, I don't think it'd be. I'm not gonna say I would do it, but I don't think it'd be that crazy hard.
Would people confuse them for skeletons?
Not if you covered up. You had the flesh hanging across the chest so you don't see the rib cage.
Let's not complicate this, Bill. He's got 2,000 points of Iron Jaws to paint.
Well,
if it wasn't if this list turns out to be good, I'll go back and do something for them.
Yeah,
it's just a time constraint thing that.
It's the Tomb King aspect. It's like, how do you make another line look so Egyptian? Basically, it doesn't have to be an Egyptian. I mean, the new stuff, the Morghast and the Mortarks, they got that Egyptian vampire blend to them. Yeah,
it's just I don't know of a good base that doesn't require lots of green stuff.
Yeah.
That's a quick hit bash. That's not ghouls, which are pretty sweet.
What about high elves? High elf infantry, and then slapping some extra bits on them. I know a guy who has a box of high elf spearmen that he's not
Those
using.
models are just as bad as the zombies with their big old knuckles that are like the size of their head. They look like they're carrying around a tree around for the spear. I mean,
yeah.
We always melt down some Iron Jaws and see what you get.
All right. Get out of this downward spiral.
Enough of the realm of creation. Battle. Because we sort of devolved there. Any more battle to talk about?
Don't think so.
The realm of lore. Well, we're going to actually have two big segments. Our first segment today is going to be rather special because we're going to have an interview with Reese Robbins from Frontline Gaming, the folks who bring you the ITC, which is growing in popularity for Age of Sigmar and is already quite a force of nature for 40K. And if the ITC does for Sigmar what it's doing for 40K, it's only going to be a good thing. Now, I know in the previous podcast, we talked about the things they said on the Frontline podcast. We want to have Reese on to kind of address all that stuff and want to reiterate and stress again that he's not changing the game. He's not changing how things are going to work. They were throwing out their opinions, and he's going to address how the ITC works and what his thoughts are going forward. And he covers a little bit of LVO as well, because we had to ask him about that. And then Elric is going to do a presentation on how cool he is with his Iron Jaws. So, shall we kick into it?
Sure.
Yeah. And now, Reese Robbins.
Okay, so Reese, if you could give us a little history about the ITC and how you got it started and just how you got that ball rolling.
Absolutely, yeah. So the ITC is the independent tournament circuit for those of you listening who aren't familiar with it. And it started out as an idea way, way back in the day. Anybody who's on Daka Daka, the discussion boards, it used to be very tournament oriented. It's since changed quite a bit, but back in the day, that's where you went to hang out if you enjoyed playing Tournament 40K. And you can see comments from 2011, 2010, where I'm waving the flag for a unified tournament format to make it easier for people to go. And then to have meaningful rankings, right? Because if we're all playing a different game, it's kind of hard to compare who's doing better or worse compared to other people because it's apples and oranges. So it was many, many, many years in the making, and it was a challenge because the people that go out and organize leagues and tournaments tend to be kind of A-type personalities, and they tend to have a lot of confidence in their ideas, and so it's difficult to get everybody to compromise because we get everybody on the phone, from Nova Open, Adepticon, the Feast of Blades at the time, War Games Con, all the bigger events, and it's like, okay, guys, let's do this. Let's have a unified format. And everyone's like, yeah, and okay, let's all use my format, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's no big deal, right? It is what it is. It's the same characteristics that would motivate someone to go out and take the financial risk and do all the work to run a big event. It's the same personality traits that make you maybe a little stubborn, thinking that your ideas are the right way to do things. So it's the good with the bad, right? And so we tried and we tried and we tried and we tried to compromise. We're like, what if we take a part of this format and a part of that format and squish them all together? And it just didn't work because people weren't willing to compromise. And what really made the ITC take off for us is that we gave up control. As soon as we said, we don't think that our ideas are better or worse than anybody else in the community, and we gave everybody the opportunity to voice their opinion and vote and give a sense of ownership in what was happening. And then we told people that you can take it or leave it. You can take part of it. You can take none of it. You can take all of it. It's up to you. That was what made it work. That was what, for years of trying to get to present a unified format, it was when we said, we aren't going to try and control every little aspect of it. That was what made it gain traction. And in the first year of the ITC, we had a little over 400 participants, we were thrilled out of our minds to think that 400 people around the country would actually want to participate in our circuit. And here we are in year 4, and we've got 4,400 active participants with hundreds of events around the world. It's insane how quickly it's gained momentum.
That's amazing.
Was any of it ever inspired by the ETC of trying to put together a rankings thing for maybe seeing who justifiably should go to the ETC, or did that have any aspect to it or not?
The ETC specifically didn't, but it was kind of in the same vein, right? It's this. We're all kind of trying to do the same thing, right? We're trying to elevate Tournament 40K up a notch to make it more exciting. Right. And really, what kind of one of the first inspirations for us was Rankings HQ. It was an Australian website that really cool idea. And at the time, that was it. And it was so fun to watch your ranking go up and go down based on how well you did at tournaments. But Rankings HQ had a lot of problems. The math that the system was built on was really fundamentally flawed. It didn't reflect what it was like to actually go out and win tournaments. The way the math was built, you could just go to local RTTs that had a certain number of people. The math was really skewed, and you'd be the best person in the world, even though you'd never played anywhere except at your local store. And so it didn't really reflect what it took to be a top level player. So we took a system based on the World Series of Poker, and that's what we based the math of the ITC on. And we've tweaked it a little bit, but we feel like we really have a system that's very representative of who the best players actually are. And then we took a couple ideas from Games Workshop, which were brilliant. At the Throne of Skulls tournament in Vegas, which was one of the inspirations for the Las Vegas Open. It was an invitational event that was run by GW, but you qualified for your faction. So you went as like the Tyranid player, or you went as the Sisters of Battle player, and you competed with other players of your faction in addition to competing overall, and it was just brilliant. Everyone loved it. So we unabashedly stole that idea. When we use it in the ITC, it's turned out to be one of the most popular things that we do is people compete for best orc player in addition to seeing how they rank overall. But as we know that the factions are not balanced versus each other. So if you didn't have that additional layer of competition, it'd just be all Eldar and Space Marines, right?
Yeah.
And Tau, and that would be the only things you'd see.
And you're going to bring the same thing to AOS, right? You're going to have, I heard next year you're going to have faction-specific stuff.
Yeah. With AOS, we decided just to do the Grand Alliances at first to keep it simple.
Yeah,
and then we've decided that anybody that has a battle tome gets gets an award, and they get to compete for their faction.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because I was going to ask about that. Some of the factions, like the Gargants, has one guy. So,
you can't. I mean, it's like, come on. Like, we can't.
Not to mention there's like 40 different factions across the 4 Grand Alliances, so just be unwieldy.
We're trying to keep it reasonable, and for the ITC this year, Games Workshop is making the trophies. Like the guys at Forge World are doing it, and they're awesome. Yeah, it's like a chainsword, a fist holding a chainsword.
Oh yeah,
which is not as applicable to Age of Sigmar, obviously, but we couldn't push them too far.
Yeah,
right. I'll still take that.
Yeah, if it says GW on it, I want to win now.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you kind of touched on some of it as you explained that, but what would you feel are some of the strongest points of the ITC that they provide towards the community, and what would you say is some of the best feedback you've gotten from the community regarding the ITC?
Yeah, the ITC, I think the strength of it is that it's transparent. We don't try to do anything behind the scenes. It's all, this is how it works. This is how we make decisions. This is how you as a participant are influencing those decisions. It is a system that reflects the desires of the majority of the players in the ITC. So there's a lot of contentious issues, especially in 40K right now, as there is in Age of Sigmar. And we have to decide, how are we going to resolve these conflicts when GW has kind of not been doing it? They've definitely gotten better, thankfully, but the ITC enables the community to self-regulate. If something's too good, we can tone it down a little bit. We do that as sparingly as possible, like only when it feels like it's absolutely necessary. And we try to encourage people to bring as many different kinds of armies as possible. So when you go to an ITC event, not everyone's going to agree that every little part of it's perfect, but it's a compromise, and it's working very well. And you see a very wide variety of players who are not all feeling pressure to bring the most powerful thing. And that, to me, makes for a really enjoyable experience for the majority of people there. I think that's the great strength of the ITCs, is that everyone there feels like they can play the army they want to play. They're being incentivized to do it. They're being recognized for doing that. And they feel like they have a part in deciding what's happening in their community.
Yeah. Because we talked about, the ITC and the comments that you guys had made on one of your previous episodes.
And one of the Ninth Realms, yeah.
On the Ninth Realm. And that was one thing that I tried to convey, was that it's a democratically done deal where, you guys put together issues that you feel exist in the game, and then present those issues to the community, and then get that feedback from them, whether or not they feel it's an issue that needs to be changed or whatever. And I think that's definitely an important aspect of it.
Yeah, for sure. We're not trying to dictate anything. Like, that's the thing we try and tell people over and over, is that we're not trying to tell you how to play the game. We're just trying to present the issues that come up, and then decide as a community if they're worth doing something about or not. And now that Games Workshop's getting more and more involved, I think the day is coming in the not distant future where we're not even going to have to vote.
Yeah.
Where we can simply approach them and say, these are the issues as reflected by the community. we would appreciate it if you would give these another look. And I would be willing to bet that that's something that's going to happen, just from the way we've been interacting with them in regards to the Las Vegas Open Age of Sigmar tournament. They're very open-minded to hearing what everyone has to say. It's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Conversely, though, have you felt you've got any legitimate detractors from the ITC, like people that weren't quite feeling what you're trying to do? Not just people that want to cry or whine or whatever because they're not getting their way, but like, do you feel anybody's given you any
concrete negative feedback?
Yeah,
Are there any areas of improvement?
Yeah, for sure. We get critical feedback a lot. I've gotten many an angry email, and the thing that we always try to remember is when people are being critical, even if they're doing it in an immature and nasty way, they're motivated by a love for what is happening, right? Like, it's coming from a positive place. They're just expressing themselves in really negative ways, so that's why we don't take it to heart. But there has been some really good criticism, and we always act on it. The voting process has gotten, like, if you go to when we started to where we are now, it's like infinitely more sophisticated and better. They're even more transparent. Like, we try not to do anything without making it abundantly clear how we're making decisions, because the criticism is usually come around how decisions are made, and it's hard for us to. We forget sometimes that we're working on this every single day, but other people aren't aware of everything that's happening. So they're left to speculate and try and connect the dots, and sometimes they jump to false conclusions as to how things are happening.
I can see that. I can see that a lot.
My favorite is like, oh, you're just trying to make your own army better. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, you mention it all the time on your podcast about how everybody thinks you're in the tank for the Imperial armies. So,
and it's like, give me, like, this is, the ITC represents tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours of work over years to get where we are at. Like, why would you ever jeopardize that over something so petty as making your own army better when you don't even get to play as much as you want?
Yeah, that's the thing, is you're running the events. You don't get to play the army that you allegedly rigged the whole thing for.
Well, unless you're Elric, in which case you do. But.
Well, hey,
And then that's the other thing, is I have 12 40k armies and I have 2 Age of Sigmar armies, and I'm working on my third. Like, it's boosting one is nerfing the others, right? I'm hurting myself more than I'm helping myself if I were to even do that, which of course you're not.
I think that's just the nature of the beast, though. I mean, you look at how many people constantly. It's like a hobby within itself is GW bashing. That some people are like, those guys have no idea what they're doing, and blah blah blah. They don't listen to anybody. And it's like, well, I mean, they've only been around for 30 plus years making these games. Yeah. I'm sure they have no idea what they're doing, right? You know?
They don't even play test this stuff.
Yeah. So
okay.
I know, and here you all are spending your free time discussing their game, which they don't know anything about, or they don't know how to make a good game, but you're obsessed with it. So
the ones that I love are the ones who hate Games Workshop, hate everything they're about, and yet buy every new release that comes out. And it's like, okay, well,
my favorite is the ones like some of the Bulls trolls. Like, this is why I haven't played this game in 10 years. I'm like, well, then why are you still
commenting on it?
And commenting on articles about it? Like, what? If you really didn't like it, you would ignore it, because that's indifference is when you're no longer interested in something.
Some people's children. Yeah.
So we should probably move on to LVO, right?
Well, okay. So one more thing I want to touch on for the ITC is like the future you see for it. So, where do you see the ITC in the next few years, and kind of what's your ultimate goal that you want to? You touched on it in an episode. It might have been the Ninth Realm, or it might have been in one of the 40K shows where you talked about trying to make it kind of like a professional gaming thing.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the dream that Frankie and I had in the beginning, and the ITC goes way back, just trying to get things more organized, right? But then as it developed, we would like to see people be able to be compensated for all the hard energy, the skill that they acquire, the lovingly painted models. We would like to see people get some recognition and even some financial compensation for that, and that would be ultimately amazing if we could do that, right? To make it fun to watch on stream, to have people potentially come to see like masters of the game do their thing, to see the beautifully painted armies. That would be really, really cool if we could get it to the point where people could, maybe you could just get your hobby for free or travel to events for free as a professional player. You know, maybe not quitting your job. I don't know if it could get to that point. Perhaps it could, but we would like to see that, right? Because there's people that, like, I've been playing this game for 20 years, I think, and it's there's a lot of people like that, like me out there, that you've invested so much time and energy into developing the skill set, and it is really cool to see it played at the master level to get some compensation for that. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Even if it was just like invitational tournaments that you got tickets to. That would be
totally.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we would like the ITC to grow to encompass all aspects of the hobby. Like, it's easiest to work with numbers, so that's why it's easiest to do the tournament scene. But it would be awesome to have like the Total Hobbyist Award, or to have like your paint score ranking. We haven't figured out how to do that yet because it's so subjective.
Oh yeah.
But if you could have an objective measurement system for people who made like the coolest conversions or the coolest looking armies, we would love to incorporate the Total Hobby into it. And to do it for Age of Sigmar and 40K, and I think that would be really, really cool. And why not, right? Like, it's just a matter of developing the systems and then applying them.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that has legs because, you know, Twitch is becoming a much stronger thing, and you can watch people play video games and all of that, and they make plenty of money off of that. And I understand it's a little more fast-paced than watching some guys play a tabletop game. Sure, but you just kind of have to find a way to make the visual aspect of watching a game of 40K more entertaining.
Yeah.
And I think maybe GW might be on to that with how during the Warlords event they had Rob and Eddie commenting on the game, kind of like sports announcers. And I think that's something you would need, is, you know, to bring that extra level of engagement. But as you were saying with the hobby too, there's like the Crystal Brush, and, you know, there's these huge painting competitions,
Slayer swords and all the good stuff.
You know, well, yeah, you could win, was it 1,000 or 10,000 for the Crystal Brush?
I don't remember. It was big.
It's 10 large.
Yeah, that's no joke.
Well, that's in my pocket
for you know what I'm saying? So like, it seems like it's kind of on the cusp, like, you know, that goal you have. I don't see why it couldn't happen. And it would definitely be cool to be a part of something like that.
Yep.
You guys got it. You get the vision, and that's what we've been working towards for these past couple of years, is getting the Twitch going. So if anybody can't make it to the LVO, we will be live streaming the entire time. Games Workshop will also be live streaming. Rob and Eddie are going to be there. And they're going to be commentating and live streaming Age of Sigmar and 40K at the event. So that'll be really fun. And then we have our own channel. It's Frontline Gaming _TV. That's all one word. That's our Twitch channel. And we'll be showing the whole con all day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to have product unveilings. We're going to have, like, obviously games, all kinds of stuff. We're going to be trying to convey to people who can't make it how cool it is to be there at the convention.
So, okay, well, then let's talk a little more about the LVO specifically then. You had talked about how they had sent you a bunch of terrain for the Age of Sigmar tournament itself.
Yeah, many boxes of Age of Sigmar terrain, which we now need to assemble and paint.
It's a good thing you have a studio.
That's the only way this is going to get done. And it's like, because we didn't have any Age of Sigmar terrain. Like, we sold most of our fantasy terrain when fantasy kind of went off into the pasture. And then all of a sudden Age of Sigmar took off. We really developed a love for the game ourselves. And it was like, oh man, we got to start all over.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Okay. And what was that?
I was gonna say, if anybody's in the San Diego area that wants to come and help, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I think our friend of the show, Scott, he's gonna be. Yeah, he's offered to help you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that crazy guy drove was it 12 and a half hours all the way out here for a one-day tournament. So he's he's gonna do it again in April for a 2-day narrative that we're gonna do. So that guy's a beast.
He's awesome, and he came in when we started to get the bug for Age of Sigmar. He came in a lot and like helped us to like up our knowledge and get more into it. really thankful for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool dude, and he has a beast of a Nighthawk army.
Yeah, he does. The Nighthawks, yeah.
Yeah, so.
They're super nice painted.
So do you have any plans yet on how you want to modify ITC rulings after the LVO?
For Age of Sigmar, we don't have any plans to do anything. Like, we had our podcast a couple episodes ago on the Ninth Realm where we talked about rules we like and don't like.
Yeah.
Right.
And people had kind of taken away from that we were planning on changing things. And I tried my hardest to convey that wasn't the case, but that still got out there. And I do understand how people can draw that conclusion.
Yeah,
But
we kind of hit that on our podcast. One of the big reasons we wanted to have you on was, to let everybody know that, no, he's not changing the game.
Or
It's-
that that's not your approach.
Yeah.
You
No.
know?
And I said it like 4 times on the podcast, but I do get it because ITC has done that. And we were talking about rules that we didn't like.
Yeah.
So I do understand how people drew that conclusion, but no, we have no plans to do anything. We really don't want to take that burden of responsibility on because we already do it with 40K, and it's by far the most contentious thing that about the ITC is when people agree very strongly or disagree very strongly with the changing of certain rules. Although you can't argue the fact that it has been successful.
Yeah.
Our events have grown so fast, and we are told very frequently that it is because people think some of the changes we've made have been sensible and it makes them enjoy the game more. So that's where we're coming from. But no, we don't have any plans to change anything. Our sincere hope is that we as a community can communicate to GW, and if there's a big problem, that they will address it, because then we don't get yelled at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like they are becoming more open to that. One of the frustrating things right now is how you see, especially on the Age of Sigmar fan site and stuff like that on Facebook, is somebody will send them an email or a Facebook post question about the game, and then they get a response, and then they post that response, and it's like, well, what do we do with this specifically? Is this an official rules
Is this canon
clarification, or what's going on?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they just need to get to that point where almost like an FAQ 2.0 or something. I'm not quite sure.
If they did the General's Handbook once a year and put out a big FAQ once a year, on the off 6th month, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great, and I think they're coming towards that, because you can tell it's obvious there's fresh blood in there that are making decisions, right?
Oh, yeah.
Clearly from the way that things have changed.
Oh yeah.
And I think they're learning as they go, right? Like the 40K side, their FAQ, it was supposed to be finalized 2 months ago, and everyone's kind of is it done? Is it not done?
Have they done all the armies?
They did everything, and then they're like, okay, when it's done, it'll be up on GW's website as a PDF, and it'll say final draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just kind of didn't happen. So we're fingers crossed, hoping that it happens soon. And I think that they're getting their systems in place, right? They're asking for feedback, they're answering questions, they're revising the answers. All that's perfect. But now we just need to go the next step and go
and publish it.
publish it. Yeah. And then like you had mentioned, it would be great if we had a predictable schedule. Like every quarter, we're going to update the FAQ, and here's the process by which we're going to do it. Because then it's cool. Everyone's used to it. And then, the General's Handbook at the end of the year, publish a new one. It's only $25.
Yeah, really.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and give us a deadline for questions, deadline for inputs, and then just go with it. So
yeah. And then at the end of the year, here's the update with all of the changes that we made throughout the year, fine-tuned some points, and we're off and running for the next year. I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that would be humongous.
Or even just like a $10 update on the app for the digital version.
Sure.
Boom. Once a year, definitely doable.
Yeah.
Because then you add in all the new war scrolls that have come out over the course of the year too. It makes sense, right? It's like a system where everyone kind of nods their head and goes, "Yes, please, please do this."
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Just one last point. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. That that system would alleviate the languishing bad unit, right? If there's a unit that's clearly crappy and no one's taking it, just drop its points, and now all of a sudden it's good.
Right.
Or if there's a unit that's too good, bump them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey. And now we have parity.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's true.
All right. Well, I guess we're getting kind of close to your time limit here. Definitely want to thank you for coming on and talking about the ITC and touching on the LVO as well. 'Cause
And calming some fears.
yeah, I've talked to other people in the community, and they're definitely from that episode you guys did. People were like, "Holy cow, what are they going to do to my game?" And it's like, well, no, hold on, let's discuss things and whatnot. And I think on our last episode, I even talked about how you guys had mentioned, even if you guys make rulings and whatnot, TOs don't necessarily have to follow them in a ITC event, correct?
Yeah, the first rule of the ITC is that you can change any rule in the ITC, and it's funny because that's been there since day one.
Yeah,
it's the actual first rule, and people still they will send me scathing emails like, "How dare you?" ... And I'm like, "Oh, you seems like you don't like this rule." They're like, "I hate it." I'm like, "Then just ignore it and play it the way you want it."
Kind of, you are the evil empire then.
Yeah. Well, that'll teach you to have an opinion on the internet.
Yeah.
Reese. I mean,
it's like sometimes people refuse to take ownership of their game. It's like people want to be told what to do, but then they also want to be able to get mad if it's not what they want.
Right.
It's really weird, It's like
it's kind of like my wife.
Yeah, it's like if in your community you really want to use Warlord Titans or whatever, and you think that's fun, then ignore our band list and just do it and have fun, and we're happy that you're having fun.
And just utilize the IT aspect of submitting points for the rankings. I mean,
sure.
Yeah, as long as it's a level playing field. So.
It's a kit. It's a tool set that says, here's everything you need to organize your community, but you can go off and do whatever the heck you want from there. You can ignore 90% of it if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things for people to hear, is that you can modify that based on however you feel the game needs to be played in your area.
Yeah, it's more important to appeal to your local community by a mile than it is to take a pre-existing system and follow it rigidly, because you will have more success if you appeal to your local, call it constituents, because it is somewhat like politics.
Yeah.
And you can have more fun and more people will come. And then it may bridge the gap to okay, I'm having a lot of fun playing in this league. Maybe we'll drive over to the next city over and go to a tournament. And then those people at that event are like, oh, wow, people are coming because they want to get their points. Maybe it encourages me to take the next step to really push my event to a GT or a major event. And I'm going to take that risk because I feel more confident that more people are going to come. And then it just kind of builds on itself, right? The rising tide lifts all ships. And that's why we built ITC, is that we want the community to be as big and robust and fun as it possibly can be. It's not about telling people how to play the game. That's not even on the priority scale. We just try to provide some degree of uniformity to make it easier to travel to other events so that you're not literally playing a different game every time you go to a different tournament.
No, yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
All right, man. Well, I want to thank you for coming on again and just discussing all of this stuff.
Yeah, because I know this is hot on a lot of AOS players' minds, but they're not real familiar with the 40K scene. So
or,
they
or
really
generally what the ITC
or
is
what
all
the
about,
ITC
yeah.
was. So to get more of it out there, I think is going to be a good thing. I hope.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
Right on. I mean, thank you guys so much for having me on. There's not very many of us with Age of Sigmar podcasts out there, so we should definitely stick together.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
and help each other out. So I'm happy to do it. And
so, Reese, just a quick question. If I was running an event, say I'm a tournament organizer, how could I get involved with ITC and make my event an ITC event?
I need the name, date, and URL of the event, and then we send you the scoring sheet if you do the manual scoring sheet, which we really encourage people to use the app because it's so easy. It's so
I just
good.
downloaded it today.
yeah. We all got that.
yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. Doing the manual scoring is a pain in the butt for everybody. So hopefully use the app, and then we put you up on our website, on the Best Coast Pairings website. We plug your event on the Ninth Realm to try and help get people there and get awareness of it. And then if you use the app, it's just so easy. And you can even use the app as a payment gateway if you don't have something set up already. So you can set up your event on Best Coast Pairings site. People can go there, register, and pay. And Best Coast Pairings takes 2% or something as a processing fee.
That's
Fair
enough.
enough. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's cheaper than PayPal, if I remember correctly. It's actually really cost effective, and it's how they're going to monetize the app. So we encourage people to do it so that they don't disappear on us.
Right.
And then if you do the whole thing through Best Coast Pairings, the players are registered in everything. Like everything is done, and they're even going to be able to collect lists in the very near future. It's awesome.
Cool.
Nice.
What do players have to do anything specific to register with them, or?
They don't have to. They can just at the day of the event they can just sign in.
Okay.
But eventually, what I think is going to happen is that the player profile function is going to be done, I think, in the next month or two. And so if they register as a player, they will then have stat tracking, really awesome stuff. Like, how often do I win against Order? How often do I win against Joe Bob down the street? You know?
Oh, that's cool.
That's linked
Yeah.
to what, your email address and your name? Probably? Yep. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, your email address is your unique identifier.
Awesome.
Hopefully we'll see everybody at Las Vegas. We're pushing 100 people for Age of Sigmar, which is, we were, fingers crossed, hoping for 64.
Yeah.
So we're really excited, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, Games Workshop is running it.
Yeah.
And one of the Forge World reps said he wants to drop his Destruction Army on the table too, so we'll see what happens.
Nice.
It should be a lot of fun.
All right.
All right,
Well,
man.
4% of your attendees are right here in this house. So
Yeah.
we bought 4 tickets.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys very much for coming. I can't wait to shake your hand and meet you in person.
Yep. Well, we'll definitely be there. We'll look you up.
Awesome.
Thanks, Reese.
Absolutely. Yeah, and anything you guys can think of to help bring the community together and to continue to push and grow things, just ask, man. We're always happy to help. Anything we can do, we're happy to do it.
Sweet.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. Well, thank you so
Cool,
much
guys.
for coming on, dude.
Thanks, Reese. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, take it easy, fellas. It was really nice talking to you.
Pleasure. Thanks, Reese, for coming on. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day. We know you have a lot of stuff. You got the moving going on. You got everything going on, but you took some time to come on and give us your thoughts, and we appreciate that, and we'll definitely hit you back shortly. So shall we move on, or are we done? Are we done? Oh, no, we were going to do Peace Claw Raiders, right? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wah,
Okay.
wah.
So, Tyler Emerson from Scrubby and Wells put together a little project for the Iron Jaws. He reached out to some key members in the community, and then guys like me. And basically what he wanted to do...
Narcissism here.
What's that?
No narcissism here.
No, I meant the opposite. Some people that knew what they were talking about, and then,
And
me.
then you.
Anyways, so his goal was to, and you can check all this is all on the TGA forums. His goal was to have people analyze the Iron Jaws and see what kind of changes needed to be made to the army. I think it's universally accepted that the Iron Jaws are a good army. They're not as a
Standalone faction?
yeah, as a standalone faction, they're not gonna win. They're not gonna crush GTs. They have some glaring weaknesses. Their inability to be resilient to mortal wounds, their inability to do mortal wounds. Those are huge issues. Plus, battle shot can be an issue as well.
Yeah.
So he wanted to get some feedback for how to adjust points and things like that, and wanted good reasons to justify them. So I wanted to make sure that I really analyzed the list and could justify the decisions that I made. And I have to say that it is actually really difficult to do that. So one of the big things is when you look at a list like the Iron Jaws, I think the two things that really stand out to people are the Gore-Gruntas and the generic war boss on Makrusha and Gordrak as being overcosted.
Yeah.
Gordrak is not a 700-point character. The mega boss on Makrusha is not a 520-point character.
Well, I think that's just a problem with monsters in AOS across the board.
Yeah.
I'd say probably a good 80%
and we've
of
discussed
the
that
monsters.
before. That
right.
That GW
They
knew
did
that they
that
were
on purpose.
pricing them higher, and they wanted to keep it that way.
So that was my that was my statement about Gordrak when I first started analyzing the stuff. I said, if Gordrak is intended to really just be for narrative play, they gave him points in case you do want to take him, like Archeon and Nagash, but they kind of priced him at a point where it's prohibitive really to have him in a competitive list. I can understand that. That's fine. You leave him at 700 and I can play him in narrative, big narrative games or whatever we want to do on the side. I can understand that. The regular Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, though, at 520, I can take 2 regular Auric War Bosses on Wyverns for cheaper than that. And yeah, their damage potential might not be as good, but their resiliency is still pretty solid. Yeah. I would argue that their command trait is better. Yeah. Because it always happens. You always get the +1 attack to your profile, whereas that game that we played, I mean, I failed, I think, every single WOG check.
You did. You failed every one.
On the Mega Boss. The fact that you have to roll that die means you can fail. Yes, if you have him surrounded with a ton of units and you roll a 6, it can be amazing, but that's very rare that that's going to happen.
No, especially if you're playing any scenario where you're going to be separated at escalation, for instance. You're not going to be surrounded.
Exactly. So I felt that was one of the universal feelings, is that he needed to come down. And then the Gorgruntas are amazing models, but they're total dumpster fires on big bases. So one of the things, so some people looked at it and said, okay, we'll drop them from 180 to 160. All right, that sounds good, right? Wrong. Because when you really start analyzing the list, if you're going to play Iron Jaws specifically, that means that all your battle line units are sitting at 180. If you drop one of them to 160 and you start to build a list, it has no outcome.
Right.
I started building lists based on those minor tweaks like that, and I found that you don't
take
add anything.
Units at all.
Yeah, you just land up with short 60 points.
Yeah, exactly. So you really got to start making some big changes to the points. And some of the people, again, I believe Tyler put all of our suggestions from everyone up, and some people even said, well, brutes are really good, so price them up to like 200 for 5. Well, the problem is if you drop the gruntas to 160, but you bring the brutes up to 200. Again, your army list doesn't change. Nothing changes.
Right.
The only difference is you'd be like, well, I feel the points are a little more reasonable. But you didn't accomplish anything.
Yeah, but you did all that in a vacuum because it hasn't changed the list even in the littlest bit.
Right. So I really sat down and started crunching some numbers. And one of the big problems they have is that Iron Jaws came out before the General's Handbook.
Yeah.
So they were designed... I wouldn't say they were designed because, behind the scenes, these things were being worked on simultaneously.
Yeah.
But their formations do not take into effect the destruction battle trait and things like that.
Yeah.
So the Gore Fist is 120 points, and it does nothing for your army anymore. Being able to set up and then make a 15-inch move with a huge unit of some of the terrible units, it's awful. You would never take that because you would always take the Iron Fist. You're always going to take the Iron Fist. The Iron Fist is always good every turn. And it applies to any of the 3 units that you want to take. I started looking at the other formations, and then the Ard Fist, you're just never going to take that because it all revolves around a single model to make it work, and it's based off reserve units. Generally, you're just... Why would I restrict myself being able to bring on units that could potentially not come on if you just kill this one guy real quick? So that formation is pointless unless you're playing like a narrative type game. The Weird Fist, it's too random, and the Weird Knob Shaman himself is not a great model, or I'm sorry, phenomenal model, not a great unit.
Yeah,
because he just kills himself.
Yeah.
He kills himself really quickly. Every time you roll a double to either cast or dispel, he inflicts D3 mortal wounds to the closest Auric unit. he is the closest auric unit to himself, so he's just going to cut himself every time you roll doubles.
Right, doubles.
It's so...
Now, see, he could be fixed with a simple fact that says closest unit, not counting himself.
Exactly. But the way it's worded now,
yeah,
he is the closest model to himself.
Yeah, I think that... I don't want to say that's an oversight, but it sure seems like one.
Yeah. So... the Footagork is potentially amazing.
Yeah.
It's really hard to cast, even if you surround yourself with bodies. In an army where bodies are expensive, it's, you could put 20 Ardboys around him, still casts on an 8, and still has the potential to do a mortal wound. Or you roll doubles, you roll like 2 5s, you cast it, do 1 mortal wound to your target, and then cut yourself for 3.
Hey,
so I've
really
had that
good.
happen as well, which is very frustrating. So these are all issues that I was looking at, and how you can cut these points down to try to make certain units viable. My personal feelings were that the Gore-Grunts needed to come down a little bit.
I think that was everyone's feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
My other feeling was that the Ardboys either needed to come down in points or just be straight battle line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another issue with Ironjaws, is because they don't have a unit. Their units are only battle line if you're pure Ironjaws.
Right.
If you want to slot in anything else from destruction,
To make up for,
you have to then find 3 more battle line units elsewhere. And I think it was Russ Veal that was talking about quite a while ago when they did an Ironjaws review or something, that was saying, I wrote an Ironjaws list and then started slotting in Moon Clan to try to fill in gaps. And next thing I knew, I had a Moon Clan army,
list.
and there was no Ironjaws left.
Right.
And that's kind of the problem they run into. Whereas if Ardboys were just battle line, even maybe if they were still at 180, potentially, I don't personally feel that they're worth that. I know there were some other guys that were part of this group that did feel they're worth 180. I feel one of those two changes. Either drop their points a little bit or make them just straight battle line. And then my other suggestion was to take the formations and cut them almost all in half, except the Iron Fist. All the other formations at least in half, if not more, because they're all so expensive. 120, 100, and then the Iron Fist is 60, and it's absolutely amazing. So I would say maybe even bump that up a little bit.
I think that's true
80.
of most formations before Sylvaneth, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the Stormcast ones, they're 140,
Yeah,
100
they're
points,
way
and
overpriced.
they don't do much. Whereas you look at like the Sylvaneth ones, it's like 20 points for household, 40 points for free spirits, and then your big overall battalions, the cheap is expensive, but it's like 80 points.
Yeah,
Yep.
Bone Splitters are the same way.
I don't know if that's just a different way of thinking,
Maybe I don't.
planning. It's not on us to presume what they were thinking or planning at the time. But that's I think you can say that kind of statement and it'd be true. Is that Beast Claw Raiders, Bone Splitters, and Sylvaneth, all their formations and the way that they build on top of each other, include other formations, is really awesome. And I think they're appropriately costed. But I think the problem might be is they got their points from South Coast, and formations were kind of like a new thing for AOS, and so maybe we were being cautious with them. Because I don't mean in 40k because they're all free.
Yeah, regardless of how good they are.
Regardless of how good they are. Whereas maybe we were playing a little bit more on the conservative side and maybe overpointing them slightly.
Maybe.
Because we didn't want it to devolve into a game of formations like 40k is, but with all the new books, you're devolving into an army of formations.
But at least you pay for them. And
yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's a good thing.
No, I agree.
Exactly,
but
they do need to be. The points need to be representative of their power a little more accurately, and paying 120 points for a free move for a unit, for a whole slew of units that aren't that great, compared to half that cost and every unit in my army moves extra every single turn on top of my battle trait, which allows them to move extra as well. Yeah, it's just, there's no comparison. That kind of stuff needs to be addressed. So you can look at the points we suggested, and he did some cool stuff where he averaged it out, and if the averages were great enough that they would warrant a change in points, he reflected that in what he put up. So I would strongly suggest going and checking that out. I believe it's in the Iron Jaws thread on the TGA forums. He asked me to also discuss like what my impressions were on the experiment and everything. And I thought it was really cool. I feel like this might be the stuff that GW will listen to, stuff that's really thought out, and see how it meshes, because there's guys from the States, there's guys from England, so these are all different metas and everything, and what we're all seeing across.
I mean, because that was the kind of his whole point behind this project, was to get some good opinions, gather into some useful, get some useful information, and then present it to GW, and try to let them take it from that point. And
also do it in a way that's like, here's the changes I suggest, and here's a well thought out reason why. Not, man, this crap's broken, bro. Like, you need to fix this. Nobody's going to listen to that kind of a presentation. So, I would like to see him do this with some of the other books as well. Maybe Fire Slayers or something, or Flesh Eater Courts, or possibly even Stormcast Eternals, some of the older pre-General's Handbook army books that we got, or whatever you want to call them.
Battle Tomes.
Battle Tomes, that's the word. I almost said Codex.
Oh.
In the interview that we touched on with Reese, when you can also get something like the ITC behind it as well, that can also give a little extra push. But I was thinking about this. What happens if you get too many voices behind it? Because the way he took in everyone's suggestions and then averaged things out, when you start adding more people, those averages are going to water themselves down, and eventually you'll get to where you have no change, or no significant change. Again, we come back to the fact that like just dropping one unit by 20 points effectively does nothing for the list. You really got to get in there and shake some stuff up, but it has to be justifiable. You can't just say, well, make Gorgonautas like 100 points. Let's see where that goes, or something like that. It has to, you kind of have to think it out, in making some adjustments like that. Like I said, I wrote lists down and tried to see how much more I could get on the table that was still effective, not just spamming.
Yeah.
And it was enough that like I could get another unit or two of Gruntas down, so that my army looks a little more diversified instead of just a wall of brutes like I normally take, because they're just the best unit to have. So why not exploit that, right?
If you're going to spend the points, you might as well spend them where it works.
Yeah, and so I'd like to be incentivized to try some of the other stuff and get a more universal all-comers list kind of thing. And I would love to be able to put Gordrak on the table, because he's so nicely painted on the Games Workshop website there. Huh?
Yeah, we forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
yes, we did.
So, quick sidebar. They put a bunch of people's personal models up on the GW website.
From Instagram, yep.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of Rolling Bad stuff up there, which is super cool.
And the Sylvaneth and the...
Yep.
And the Iron Jaws.
Iron Jaws.
So hopefully there will be more. I kind of wanted to touch on that. I would love if people, I really got to become a more active member on the TGA forums.
We all got it.
Yeah, I fell out of love with forums, but the TGA seems like such a good place to go. So I definitely want to become a part of that, and I would implore you to either go on the forum, definitely go on the forum and look at what Tyler posted, and then give your feedback based on what we suggested. And like I was saying earlier, I'm by no means like some world-class Iron Jaws player. I just enjoy them. So these were just kind of like my personal feelings. And you guys can hit us up too hit me up and let me know how much of a chucklehead I am for thinking that Ard Boys should be cheaper or whatever. So, but it was definitely cool, and I hope Tyler does this with some of the other older books for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great effort to put together, and like you said, it's going to go a hell of a lot longer than the angry rant on a Facebook page.
Exactly.
So, or the snarky beatdown post when somebody puts up an army list. That doesn't help.
Exactly.
So, but this kind of thing, this sort of effort goes a long way, and this is one of those things where you don't know if Games Workshop is looking at all these things, but when you see some of the reactions that have happened, you kind of think to yourself, they must be looking at this stuff.
They for sure are. I think at this point, there's no doubt that Games Workshop is on. They're reading Facebook posts. They're all over the TGA forums.
So
they're listening to podcasts. They might not listen to those one, but
well, no.
they're listening to podcasts. They are very much a part of the community, and they're becoming a more vocal aspect of the community. So
they've announced that big website too. I think we forgot to cover that in New Dawn. But they announced that big Games Workshop hub for all things
Warhammer community. Yeah. Website.
And it kind of makes me wonder if they're looking at the success of TGA and going, that should be us driving that. So
they used to have a Warhammer forum on their website.
What was it? It was DACA, but worse. So
it'll be.
This could be a good thing, I think.
I think if they make it a hub for information and all that, if it's a forum and stuff like that, I don't know.
Well, we already have the forum. We have the TGA.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
But if it's a hub for rules updates and downloads and books and everything else, and it's even if it's behind a paywall, but my dream would be to have something like that. It's behind a paywall. It's $5 a month, but you can check out one Black Library novel a month. Okay, bingo, I'm in. I'm down. I don't know what it's going to be, but I hope it's something cool.
I would caution against a forum because you would have to patrol it nonstop. There'd be so many. There's still a lot of haters.
Well, and you know what? That's the thing. The ban brick, it can work, and I would imagine. I don't know how much they've discarded from the Facebook pages, but I have to imagine they've gotten rid of quite a few posts from the absolute haters.
Yeah.
So I don't care because you know what? I don't want to see that.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you have a valid opinion, well, like what you just did with Iron Jaws, if you have a valid opinion that something needs fixing, there's ways to do it. Vitriolic posts on Facebook or whatever, that's not the way. No one cares. I tune you out.
And if your suggestion is that Games Workshop itself change and blah blah blah, and you hate them down to your core, then make your own miniatures company.
Yeah, exactly.
Write your own rules, huh? See how easy it is.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. So did this project give you a new appreciation of assigning points to
absolutely
models?
Yeah, it's I can understand probably why they made everything 180 for the 3 units because they're so easily interchangeable and stuff like that. But the power levels are just there's such a discrepancy there, and so you kind of got to get in there and tweak it for sure. And 520 points for a dude on a Maw Crusher that just dies so fast. He's got to come down.
Well, and that's the other thing too is I look at some of the costs on these bigger models, and you just look at what can it do against a reasonably costed similar other unit, and I don't think he makes the grade. Even Gordrak doesn't make the grade.
No, for sure. That's where I started my research. Was like I said, well, let me bring up brutes, and then let me bring up all the other infantry that's like around 3 wounds a piece, and then start comparing prices and start comparing abilities and stuff like that. And then I was like, well, I don't know if this is really the best way to go about doing this because we're not factoring in synergies that these other things get from characters, from battle traits and stuff. So I stopped doing it that way and just started comparing internal balance
Yeah.
of the Iron Jaws battle tome itself, and how to get some real physical changes on the tabletop of what your army looks like compared, because again, just dropping a couple points here and there really doesn't have an effect when your units are that expensive.
Well, you know what I say for Iron Jaws? Just drop in some Stormcast. They'll be all right.
The Iron Jaws, yeah, they'll come out the other side just fine.
Well, you don't want to lose even your alliance bonus.
Yeah.
Ah, man.
So yeah, I'd definitely love to hear feedback on that. You got anything else?
I think that's the realm of lore right there. We had the interview and the dissertation on Iron Jaws, which is actually a pretty cool idea overall.
Yeah, definitely.
So we can pretty much can the even dozen episode.
Look at that. 12 episodes, gentlemen.
Wow, a dozen.
If you would like to get a hold of us, you can reach us at our email address, which is rollingbadpodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit our website at rollingbad.com. We have a Twitter account for the podcast, which is at rolling_bad. We also have a Facebook page. You can just search for Rolling Bad on Facebook. We each have an individual Twitter account. You can reach me at Elric Edge.
You can get me at Bill Castello, Castello.
And I'm at Tersoth.
You can also see our work, mostly James, at our Instagram page, Rolling Bad, all one word. Oh, stand by.
That's going to the blooper.
Do 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 do.
Yep, Blood and Glory. I was right.
Is it Blood and Glory? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. That one. Come here for your Age of Sigmar education.
Holy
It's not
cow.
taking hold. Maybe it is Blood and Glory.
I think maybe we're all having a minor stroke.
It's the sweet tea.
yeah, exactly.